Hello everybody, Joe here with Garden of Luma. If you guys are new to this channel, please subscribe to stay updated on the latest videos. I do a new video every Wednesday and Saturday. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the one plant that everybody that thinks about gardening wants to grow, and that is the tomato plant. Alright, so I am going to give you guys some of my tips for growing tomatoes, especially in a hot, dry climate like the Phoenix, Arizona desert, where we get scorching hot temps in the summers. And so I am in growing zone 9B. So let's go check out my tomato plants right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about growing those here in this hot, dry climate.
Okay, so here are all my tomato plants here. So it just looks like a big jungle here. Look how dense this is, green this is. And so just wanted to give you guys a few tips for growing tomatoes in the Phoenix, Arizona desert here. And so I've been growing tomatoes, growing vegetables for 8 years. And first off, the big thing you want to do is make sure you're growing in a raised bed like this here, so you can have some good quality soil. That soil that you get from, you know, the big box stores, Walmart, stuff like that, if you get cheap stuff, it's going to produce crap results. So you want to make sure you get some good quality soil. I purchased mine from a place called Grow Well. That's a local place here, and I purchased it by the cubic yard. And so that is what I highly recommend doing to get started. Then you can top it off throughout the years, you know, with some good stuff as well. So you want to have some good quality soil in a raised bed with things like worm castings, coconut coir, and I use a lot of compost. I use a lot of rabbit manure. So as you can see, these plants are extremely healthy. I'm starting to get my first ripe tomatoes there. I love the early girl variety. That is one that I always make sure I do every year. It's just been a tried and true producer for me and for others in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Just a nice medium-sized tomato that's, you know, great for salads and things like that. Has a nice sweet taste. Just a good tomato and perfect for our climate. When you're getting tomatoes, you want to make sure that you are getting a variety that produces quickly. So you don't want things that take forever, like, you know, 90 days or more. You want the varieties that are going to produce in like 55 to 70 days, because as you know here, it's like a race against the heat, right? So I try to get my plants out in at least by late February. You know, if we typically get a late frost towards the end of February, so you got to keep that in mind. But some years you can get them out as early as mid-February, and maybe with a little protection, get them through any type of light frost that you might encounter. But otherwise, you want to get them planted as quickly as possible, because, you know, once June hits, it'll pretty much scorch all these plants. Won't produce anymore anyways, because once it hits those 100-degree temps, the pollen, it won't pollinate the flowers anymore. So you're pretty much done for the season. And for me personally, I don't try to get these through the summer. I know some people put shade up and whatever and try to get them through the summer so they can get a fall crop. But I just stick with, you know, one crop, and that's all I really care about, and just let them die off or pull them in June, and then I let my watermelons take over from there. But if you really, you know, really want to try to get a fall crop or whatever, you can try to heavily shade these through the summer and baby them to get them through our, you know, our extreme heat here. But to me, it's not worth it. You know, once the heat hits, I just let them go. But all I really feed these guys is just a bunch of rabbit manure, and that's pretty much it. You know, I don't feed them anything else, and as you can see, they're just really happy, healthy plants. I know some people prune the suckers and stuff, but I don't. I just let them go, and it does look pretty dense here and everything, but you know, that's fine for me. I mean, I don't worry about pruning these things or whatever. I know some people prune to try to get a heavier yield, but these produce, you know, plenty for me and my family. Actually, it's like more than enough. So I have in here Early Girl, Juliet I tried for the first time. That's these here. Almost like a mini Roma tomato. So, and then I did the Early Girl as well as a couple different cherry tomato varieties that I've done before in the past. A black cherry and a yellow variety. Watering, I do not. I know some people water like daily. I don't personally. I water typically every 3 days, and then when we get more of the extreme heat, every couple days. And I water for about 5 minutes or so a plant, 5 to 10 minutes a plant when I water. So I just want to make sure they get a nice good soak when I water. But I'm not big on watering like every single day. I know I've seen some people that do. But as you can see, they look healthy, they look good. My plants do tend to get some, as you can see, my jungle here and these big trees and stuff. So I mean, they get late afternoon shade from the trees around them, so they aren't just sitting out in full sun all day long. But other than that, you want to make sure you're planting tomatoes at the right time when you're doing it in the desert. Getting them out as early as possible, making sure they have steady food throughout the year, you know, whether that's like manure or you want to do some sort of fertilizer. You want to make sure they have a steady, consistent amount of food and then consistent watering. One of the problems I see too with tomatoes is the blossom end rot. And so as long as they're getting a lot of nutrients, you typically don't see that. If you're giving them a consistent watering schedule, you typically don't see that. But if you're inconsistent with watering, they're not getting enough nutrients, that tends to be a problem here. Another thing that can help with that is Epsom salts. You know, if you start off throwing some of that in the soil initially when you get them going, you know, that can be beneficial as well to help with that blossom end rot. So I tend to like to do transplants, but I have done seeds. The cherry tomatoes this year were done from seeds. And so when I'm doing tomatoes from seeds, I start those around New Year's Day and do them indoors for about 6 weeks before I start hardening them off and then getting them ready to plant outside here. But transplants are a great way to go. You know, the plant's already started. You know, go to one of our local nurseries or a local nursery and get a nice healthy plant for several. They're relatively cheap, and then go that way. And like I said, you can start them, you know, towards the end of February, mid-February, depending on the weather and threats of frost. All right, check me out at gardenofluma.com for more tips on gardening, growing fruit trees, especially in hot, dry climates. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe to stay updated. I do a new video every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks for watching.